We knew it was coming, but now it's official. Governor Greg Abbott here in Texas has officially released his proclamation declaring that there will be an upcoming special legislative session here in Texas. It's going to begin on July 21st, and he's included in that proclamation the call of the special session. So for those of you who aren't down on the finer points of the Texas Constitution and how things work here, if there's a special session after a regular legislative session, which only happens once every 2 years, the governor has complete freedom to call an additional special session whenever he wants to do so. And he gets to define what is included in the call of that special session. And what that means is it's not just a general legislative session where lawmakers can file bills on any issue that interests them or where they feel particularly passionate. Rather, the special legislative session just focuses on those certain areas that the governor decides are of particular importance to the state. So it's one of those areas when the Texas governor, who compared to a lot of other states and executives is a relatively weak office, doesn't actually wield that much formal power, really gets to exert his maximal influence over what the legislature does. Normally it's the Lieutenant Governor, Dan Patrick, and is the current document holder. The Lieutenant Governor of Texas holds a lot of power in his position as President of the Senate, who really rules the Senate with an iron fist and gets to decide what bills move through that chamber, which bills die, and what kind of shape they look like. But right now, when it comes to actually calling a special session, only the governor can do that, and he has exercised his right to do that. So here's the official proclamation. It came out yesterday. You see quite a lot of items on it. There's definitely an element of burying some bad news or some additional things in there. But at the very top of the list right now, very timely, of course, is flood and disaster preparedness. Obviously, after the terrible flooding in Kerr County and elsewhere in the Texas Hill Country, with just awful loss of life, including the lives of many very young girls, young campers at various summer camps. Early warning systems, better flood detection, all of these things are very high on the agenda. So the first 4 items in the call of the session are all to do with disaster preparedness. And there's some stuff on education. There was a move during the regular session to eliminate certain state testing of school children, academic testing. That didn't get done in the end, so they're going to loop back and try and do that. The perennial issue of property tax reduction has cropped up again. And then what many people think of the main reason for calling the special session, and that was to deal with hemp and THC, particularly for those kind of artificial strains that are sold maybe in gummies or in drinks. Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick really wanted to get rid of those altogether, ban them. In fact, the legislature passed such a very comprehensive ban that was vetoed by Governor Greg Abbott, saying it went too far or would be constitutionally indefensible. So they're coming back to work on that as well. Also in the call is another attempt to ban taxpayer-funded lobbying. So that's when, various arms of government, whether it's an executive agency or quite often a school district or a city, come to Austin to, lobby. Their legislative affairs team will come and lobby for various bills that they want. Opponents of that see that as, taxpayers basically paying to lobby against themselves, because generally those lobbyists come to Austin to ask for more money that taxpayers might not want to provide. So there's another effort to get rid of that as well. And then snuck here on the second page, one of the final items, is redistricting. We know that this is obviously always a hot button issue. I think Republicans, particularly at the national level, from the president on downwards, are keen to try to squeeze as many additional seats as they possibly can out of sort of heavily Republican areas to preserve their majority in Congress. Redistricting can only happen through the power of the state legislature, so they would have to go into special session to do this. So the Legislative Redistricting Committee, which has otherwise been dormant during regular session and wasn't expecting to have much to do, is now going to spring to life. They're going to have to get involved in deciding how they want to redistrict, if they want to crack or pack certain districts. I have my own very strong feelings about just redistricting and gerrymandering in particular. I think democracy isn't just whether or not you have elections. It matters a lot. Is your district, ridiculously shaped district that's specifically drawn to include certain people and exclude others, to create a very safe incumbent seat, and all of these things can affect democracy as well. It's not just voting. It's are you in such a safe seat that your representative doesn't feel beholden to you or to anyone? All of these things can affect how governance and legislation actually work, but those are just my own personal views on that. But anyway, it's a very comprehensive special session. There's lots of items on it. As I say, Governor Greg Abbott released a proclamation the other day. I'll be watching closely, as I already have been, to see whether we think any of these calls of the special session might impact any of the areas that the Institute for Justice works on. Obviously, we have our 4 pillars at the Institute for Justice of economic liberty, free speech, private property rights, and education freedom. At the moment, it doesn't look as though directly any of those areas are going to be implicated in the special session. So none of the gains, the many gains that we racked up during the regular session, whether that's on economic liberty or on property rights and housing, should be affected by this. But I will watch closely. You never know. Sometimes some tangential bills squeak through that are just close enough to the call of the special session that people decide that, yeah, that's close enough, and then legislation can move forward. So we will watch to see if there's anything that we might need to oppose or to support. But at the moment, it's looking like we can mostly sit this one out, although other people are certainly going to be very busy and very stressed while it's happening. So this is Sam Hooper, keeping a watchful eye out on the Texas legislature for you here at the Institute for Justice.